Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. So since we went over all the factions now, I figured it'd be time to do a little ranking system, and this is my own personal opinion, so nobody take it to heart, and we'll just have a little discussion about it and talk about where the rankings are on all the races and factions in Warhammer 40,000 universe. And like I said, just gonna talk a little bit and give my opinions on why I'm ranking them where they're at, and I hope not to offend anybody. It's just my opinion. So alright, let's get into it. So the first two that I have here in the last place in the F ranking is the Dark Eldar and Leagues of Votann. So the reason I did the Dark Eldar, because I don't think they're a very powerful faction, and in the lore they're basically just raiders and infighting amongst themselves, thanks to Vec trying to be the puppet master to hold on to control. So I just feel like they're not a very big threat to the galaxy, and they're just trying to cling on and fight. Meanwhile, with the Leagues of Votann, I just think they're a new race that's been introduced, and we don't know enough about them yet and how powerful they are, and they're just bringing them along. So if they get more lore, and which I'm sure they will, and information about them, I will probably change the ranking, but for now that's where I'm going to keep them. So for the next ranking, I have the Thousand Sons and Inquisition in the D tier. I really love the models and the lore and the history of the Thousand Sons. They're definitely a faction I'm thinking about collecting down the line and painting, but that being said, they have to be ranked at D, because they've tried to take on with their demon Primarch Magnus, take on the Space Wolves, and they've gotten their butts kicked every single time since Prospero. Also, Guilliman was able to hold off Magnus on a 1v1 fight, even with all Magnus's 10,000 years experience over Guilliman's, and also his psychic might, but he was still not able to defeat him until ultimately he probably would have, but he was able to hold him off until he got reinforcements. So it still counts though, that for a win. So to me, it's just they try, but they always fail, so they haven't done much, and they're not a huge threat in my opinion. Also, the Inquisition, they're not a huge threat either. Yeah, they have capabilities of destroying whole planets, but once again, there's a lot of infighting and amongst themselves, along with other Space Marine chapters. So they might have a lot of sway, but they're definitely not the biggest threat or the strongest by any means. So now that we're getting into the middle tier, at C, we have quite a few factions here. We have Knights, Chaos Knights, Deathwatch, Mechanicus, Necrons, Orcs, and Death Guard. Now, the Chaos Knights and the regular Knights, they're basically just, to me, support units. Like, they're not going and taking on whole planets and doing a whole lot. Like, they're just there to help fight for either Imperial or the Chaos faction, so that's why I put them there. So they're definitely a good support role, so, and I would definitely take them seriously. Deathwatch, they're kind of the same thing, and they're too scattered and there's too much going on so to be a constant threat. So they're kind of right in the middle there, like I said, as a support class. So Mechanicus, same thing, even though they're the ones that make all the machines and ships and weapons and everything, but as a faction, they're definitely more C rank because of the fact that their forces are used for defense more than offense. The Necrons, I would have put them higher, but 9th edition came out. They were supposed to be the big bad threat, and had the Silent King come back, but that was it. He came back and he's like, yeah, what's going on, guys? And kind of dipped his head in, and that was it. And didn't really get any other big lore. I mean, he did have a little interaction with the Blood Angels and fought the Tyranids and that, but other than that, they didn't do anything huge. And they're still, as a whole faction, very fractured and have a lot of infighting amongst themselves. Which also brings me to the Orcs. They haven't really done much either ever since Ghazghkull left Armageddon. He's going cruising around the universe and fighting and that, but they haven't been a huge threat yet. Not like if you ever read the series The Beast. That was when all the Orcs had united under one giant banner and almost took the total Imperium out. But currently, like I said, they're not a huge threat, so that's why I leave them at C ranking. And then I have the Death Guard last here in C ranking, so I feel like they were definitely doing some damage early on in that, but then Guilliman showed up and they had a big fight between Guilliman and a demon Primarch Mortarion, and Mortarion technically did kill Guilliman, but then the Emperor put his power into Guilliman and brought him back and used that same power to beat him, and not only do that but do heavy damage to the Plague Lord Nurgle's garden and catch it on fire and do a lot of damage. And because of that, and because Mortarion wasn't listening to Nurgle, he got banished back there, where he's being punished by Nurgle right now for not following his orders. And they're still around fighting, but like I said, they've been kind of sidelined now because of all that. And at the B tier, I have Sisters of Battle, Custodians, Eldar, Chaos Demons, Genestealer Cults, Grey Knights, Space Wolves, Black Templars, and the Tau. Now the Sisters I have a B because they're still a very powerful faction and are hard to defeat and fight, but they're also limited in numbers, so that's why I don't have them up a lot higher. The Custodian Guard I have at B because for the last 10,000 years they've basically been just sitting around the Imperial Palace not doing anything, and now that with Guilliman back, he has ordered them out, so now they're starting to get back into the action. So that's why I have them at B and not higher, even though they are an elite force and definitely wouldn't want to mess with them. But like I said, they haven't been doing much, and they've just recently started getting out there and fighting. The Eldar, they're still around and they're still fighting, but they're definitely just trying to do whatever they can to survive, whether it means trying to run away or do hit and run fights and that, but they're not a big player in the game right now because they're just trying to keep on moving. Chaos, all the Chaos factions and demons and all that, I have them in B because I feel like yeah, they're definitely a huge threat, especially with the Great Rift and everything, but they're still, to me, just a support role to the Chaos Marines and Chaos in general. They're not as big of a threat. They definitely are, but they're not the be all end all. And same with Genestealer Cults. They're more just to help set up everything and for a Tyranid invasion and help create chaos and get Imperial forces weakened so they can help the Tyranids when they get there. But other than that, that's why they're not as powerful. Along with Grey Knights, I feel like they're also just spread thin with everything, all the demon incursions and everything. They can only be at so many places at one time, so they're definitely powerful. But like I said, they're mostly just used against demons, so when it comes to fighting against some of the other races, they're not as good. The Space Wolves, they're still fighting hard and everything, but they're just doing everything they can to stem the tide, so they're stretched thin too, so that's why I have them in B rank. The Templars, they're kind of the same boat as the Space Wolves. They're just out and fighting everything and everyone that they can, trying to help stem the tide, like I said. So they're definitely doing some damage, but like I said, they're not the elite. And then the Tau, they're still an upstart race, and if the Imperium didn't have all these other threats, they would definitely probably be taken out. Not easily, but definitely they would get wiped out if it was any other time when the Imperium was a lot stronger and not so stretched thin, fighting all these other forces. But because of their technology and their rapid expansion, they are definitely a threat, so that's why I have them sitting at B rank. And on to A ranking, I have Imperial Guard, Space Marines, and Khorne Berserkers. Reason I have Imperial Guard is because they're just so numerous, and if it wasn't for them, Imperium definitely would have fell a long time ago, but they're definitely not the elite of the elite. But if it wasn't for them, like I said, they would definitely wouldn't have the Imperium. Also, the Space Marines, they've taken a hit over the years now. They're also stretched thin pretty hard, just like the Space Wolves and Black Templars and Grey Knights are. But the reason I gave them A ranking is because they've just recently gotten the Primaris upgrade units, so it definitely boosted them. So that's why I feel like they should be the A ranking, because if it wasn't for both them and the Imperial Guard, they, like I said, the Imperium wouldn't be around. The Khorne Berserkers, I have them up to A also, because with the Angeron being brought back, and even after he's defeated, he'll be back in just a matter of weeks. So even though he's banished, it's only for a short time, and he definitely is powerful. And like I said, during the one battle, he did a huge rage psychic scream almost type of chant, and it made a whole sector and a whole Indominus fleet turn to chaos, basically. Khorne and fighting and just bloodlust. So that's why I definitely think that they're a huge threat now. And then last, we have the S ranking. We have the Blood Angels, Dark Angels, Chaos Space Marines, and Tyranids. Blood Angels, yeah, you just have to put them S rank, because if it wasn't for them leading Imperium Nihilus with their Chapter Master Dante, was one of the oldest Space Marines, and he just will not die. He's a great leader, so they also are the chapter that had found the line and brought him back to the Dark Angels, and they also defeated one of the giant Tyranid hive fleets on their home planet. So if it wasn't for them, half the Imperium would probably be lost right about now. And like I said, the Dark Angels, they have to be S rank too, because they just had one of their big players in their Primarch, Lionel Johnson, just be brought back, and he basically curb stopped Angeron. Now, like I said, Angeron will be back in a short time, but it doesn't matter, because like I said, he definitely beat the crap out of them. So, and they're gonna be a big threat now. You got to give it to Chaos for being S rank, because they basically just they won. They got everything they needed and everything they were planning to do, and they're continuing their schemes and moving forward. So like I said, they're definitely one of the biggest threats alongside the Tyranids. Like I said, even though they did lose that battle at Ball against Dante and the Blood Angels, they're now showing up closer to Terra on the Galactic West and East and North. So they're all over the place, slowly surrounding the universe, and they got a ton of new units that are coming out, and they're gonna be one of the biggest threats next to Chaos. So that's why I have them ranked at S along with the other ones. And that'll do it for this episode. Like I said, this is all my personal opinions, and I'm basing it off of lore and just what I know about each of the factions and what's going on currently. And like I said, if I'm wrong, then just leave a comment and let me know what you think. So also give it a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you haven't yet. And like I said, let's have a nice discussion and let's see what you guys think everyone should be ranked at. Alright, until next time guys, I'll see you in the next video. Take care.